Hey everyone, it's Miriam. Just doing some live painting. If you're around, come hang out. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, it's just going to be a chill session today. I still have a lot of work to do on this one. Hey Evelyn. All right, I think this neck is starting to look better than where we started. May go back into this right here a little later and just like glaze over it just a tiny bit so it's not as pronounced, but I do want to indicate that folding of his body there. All right, so I just placed a bunch of color down. Now I'm gonna go in with a dry mini mop. You guys can see it's just like a super soft looking brush. I'm just gonna buff out some of these areas. And this process is kind of twofold. Because I'm going in with a dry brush, not only am I pushing and pulling these colors and values around, softening edges, but it's also picking up some of the paint too. And I don't know if you guys see, I'm constantly rubbing it off. You gotta change the song. But it just helps me make all these gradual kind of changes. Thank you. Someone said, "Who is that?" So this is actually my husband is the model. I've made him pose for a bunch of my paintings. So if you're familiar with my work, you might have seen this face before. I typically I work with local models or make friends and family pose for me. All right. I'm always trying to soften out the edges of my shadows. And when I do so, it's almost always with a dry brush. And as I'm pulling these colors and values down, I'm trying to do so in a way that mimics the form of the body. Just helps it all look more natural. Um, helps give the brush strokes a little more characteristic. Helps get you in the mindset of painting form. Now, if you guys have any specific questions, feel free to let me know. Or if you want to see my palette, anything like that. All right, let's work on the shoulder. I'm painting with fairly transparent mixes of paint here. You can see the skin right now. So like I have a dark spot right here on the shoulder. No matter how many times I go over it, it's gonna show with this paint. So this is an area where, you know, it might require a few extra layers. Oh, Michael just asked, do you do all your blending with that small brush? So with this, no. Sometimes I use bigger brushes. And I did, oh, maybe you were talking about this brush. This small one, I don't do all my blending with it. I normally, this is really good for edges, transitions. But like, you know, if I were gonna go in here and blend a large area like the chest, this would be pretty inefficient. I mean, for an area like this, if I'm going in and blending, I might use a brush, you know, as big as this. This is all dried and crusty, but you get the point. Someone asked, Barty asked, is the color diluted with some medium, oil, or solvent? Looks good. Thank you. So I'm actually using at the moment this. It's Gamblin solvent-free fluid. Typically, like most of the time, you'll see me using this, the solvent-free gel. But I don't know. This week I've felt like I wanted to pull out the fluid, and I've been really enjoying it for this piece. All right, let's blend some of that stuff out again. Okay, let's bring a lot of that down. Barty said I like the ambiguous name of the medium. Hey, Evelyn. No problem. Okay. I should probably leave this specific area alone for a bit. I don't want to call too much attention to it. Okay. Let's work on... Where do I want to work now? I should probably work on the shoulder. I have a, very green background on this painting. So in my shadows, you guys can see I'm mixing up a lot of green in there. All right, so I'm actually kind of painting into areas that I don't even really want to adjust. Kind of color matching right now. I'm only doing this so that when I paint into the areas that I do want to adjust, I can blend it in wet into wet. Also, sorry if you guys hear my stomach rumbling. It's almost lunchtime. All right, as we round into the shadow, I'm gonna oversaturate it with some warmth. So that way, once everything blends, my colors stay vibrant and non-muddy. Hey, thanks, Michael. All right, we need to add more paint. I'm using Cremants White as my white for now. All right, someone said, how do you pull focus to the face? Is it the palette and warmth or the composition? Okay, so for me, a lot of it is the composition and the contrast. I'm reserving a lot of my, like we have concentrated here in this small space, a lot of really lights and a lot of really darks, and they're really close together, and it kind of draws your face to it. I also have his face on the thirds, right? So just naturally, with the composition, your eye's going to be drawn there. Hey, thanks, Ahmed. I appreciate that. This one was definitely more of an ambitious painting for me, and I still don't know if I'm going to pull it off. You guys can't see it because it's off screen, but the hands and the arms, there's like a lot of foreshortening going on, a lot of headaches in that area. But we're getting there. Someone asked, how long did it take you to feel comfortable painting while people watch you? That's actually funny because I started off my journey um, documenting my process and posting it online. And that's because I started during COVID and I started a TikTok channel. And like the tagline of my TikTok channel was actually like d- about me documenting myself, learning how to paint. So I started documenting myself like during the learning process. Um, so it's always just been kind of a comfortable thing for me, if that makes sense. If I waited to start sharing until I felt like I was good enough, I probably never would have taken that first step to share my work online in the first place. Barty said, do you make any preparatory studies or sketches before starting on the actual painting? No, I don't. Um, that's just the way that I work. I'm not, I don't think I would actually recommend that to anyone. Um, it gives me a lot of headaches, but when it works out, it really works out. But no, I don't do any sort of preliminary sketches. So Atlas said, you said Stephen Bauman's work helped. Can you go into detail on what you meant? So I did he, okay, so when I was starting out, he had, and he still has a Patreon, and it's awesome. And he offered, it was like a once a month, monthly mentorship. And it was like half an hour. And he would just go over your paintings with you and your work and give advice. And so that is, I found that very, very helpful, especially early on when I was trying to figure out a lot of things on my own. Michael said, do you have any atelier training? No, I don't. I wish. But nope, I learned from my living room during COVID. completely forgot that I was trying to work on this area over here. I'm always getting distracted. I bounce around a lot in my paintings. I always think of it like a Sudoku puzzle. It's like once I fill in one area, it points out another area that I need to go work on. Um, so it's not always a very linear process. Yeah, Michael, I am a huge fan of Sargent. My favorites are uh, Bouguereau and Sargent. I love them. I also like my favorite artist is Kim Jong-gi, which is like very different from the kind of art that I do, but I pull a lot of inspiration, or I get a lot of inspiration from seeing his work. But I do like all the, the old masters. Hey, Hussein. Thank you so much. They said they learned a lot from my videos. I appreciate that. Okay, Atlas just said, you've had a gallery before. Can you give some tips on how that went and what to do when you want to apply yourself professionally? Okay, so I have been fortunate enough that the two galleries that I worked with reached out to me and kind of initiated that. I had been on a journey before that, applying to galleries locally. And I think I applied to about 30 local galleries in Atlanta, and the response from every single one was negative. No one wanted to work with me. And then it was kind of funny because as soon as I started working with Arcadia, then suddenly a lot of the same galleries wanted to work with me. So, unfortunately, I don't have much advice on that because it didn't go well for me personally when I was on that journey. Okay, so one thing about me is I absolutely despise, like honestly despise, I hate painting armpits. This one isn't bad because it's like the armpit's hidden, but still, I hate it. Michael said, where do you find your models? So I find them in basically two different places. One, my local live drawing group. I try and go like at least once a month and draw people live. Doesn't always happen, but I aim for once a month. And the local models there are always awesome, always looking for work. So I've hired quite a few of those. And then I just like to use friends and family as models as well. Barty says, is it because it's difficult or that it bothers you somehow? If you're talking about the armpits, it's one, I do find them difficult to paint. And two, I just feel like they're just aesthetically unpleasing. I don't know. Like, especially when someone has their arms raised, or I've painted a few portraits with women and their arms like up, and so you could see the armpits. And yeah, they just always drive me crazy because it's like you don't want to put too much detail in it and call attention, but you also don't want it to look like a Barbie armpit. Does that make sense? Kind of babbling now. Okay. Daniel said, how do you decide how much detail to allow the viewer's mind to make up versus getting ultra realistic? Okay, so my rule of thumb typically is there's two rules of thumb. So one, the smaller the area, the more detail I put. Like if you look at this chest area, like really there's not a lot of detail going on here. Um Even the forehead, like a lot of these bigger areas, I don't reserve a lot of detail, but in some of the smaller areas, I'll make those more detailed. And then also just where do you want your viewer's eye to be drawn? All right, guys, it is about time for me to go grab some lunch. But if you have any last questions, let me know. I'll stay on for another minute. Yeah, thanks everyone. All right, have a good day.